In the stillness before thought arises, in that sacred silence where breath meets awareness, there is a knowing clear and wordless. It does not grasp, it does not desire, it does not judge, it simply is. And it is here, in this untainted space of presence, that we encounter the great delusion that haunts all of human suffering, the ego. The ego whispers in the mind, I am you. Protect me, feed me, defend me. It clings to name, to form, to stories and role. It convinces you that you are the accumulation of your achievements, your failures, your desires and your fears. But the ego is not your essence. It is not your true self. It is the mask you wear, the illusion you've been taught to reveal. And unless it is seen for what it is, a shadow on the wall of consciousness, it will lead you into endless cycles of dissatisfaction and suffering. A man once approached the Buddha and asked, "Who are you? Are you a god, a saint, a magician?" The Buddha replied, "No, I am awake." Awakening does not require you to become something greater. It demands that you see through the falsehoods you have mistaken for truth. To awaken is to realize that the self you defend so desperately is not real. It is a dream within a dream, and the cost of clinging to it is your peace. Look around. How many wars, how many heartbreaks, how many betrayals have been born from the need to protect an image? How many friendships shattered over pride? How many nations have bled because of wounded identities? The ego builds walls and calls them fortresses. It hides fear beneath masks of strength. It chases pleasure, but finds only fleeting relief. And when pain arrives, as it always does, the ego points outward, blaming others, deflecting truth. But the Buddha taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law. And what is love but the absence of ego? What is compassion but the recognition that the illusion of separation is a lie? Let us walk gently into the heart of this teaching. Let us see that suffering is not random. It is not punishment. It is the signal that we have wandered from truth, that we have mistaken impermanence for permanence, that we have called the ego the self. There is no greater prison than the one built from identity, and no greater liberation than to see it crumble. Thoughts will come. I am not enough. They don't respect me. I need more. They are wrong. Each thought a brick in the wall, each judgment a seed of discontent. But when you sit in stillness and watch them arise, without clinging, without believing, then you begin to see the watcher, the awareness beneath it all, untouched, spacious. That is who you are. You are not the roles you play, not the stories you've been told. You are not your name, not your past, not your wounds. You are the silent witness, the boundless awareness, and the ego is merely a ripple upon your surface. And yet most live their entire lives worshipping that ripple, fighting for it, suffering because of it. The Buddha did not offer dogma, he offered a path, a way to walk out of suffering. And at the center of that path is a simple truth. Suffering arises from attachment, and nothing do we attach to more fiercely than the idea of I. I am right, I am hurt, I am superior, I am worthless. All different masks of the same illusion, all barriers to freedom. You were not born with this ego. It was taught to you, conditioned, reinforced. But what is learned can be unlearned, and what is unlearned can be transcended. Begin by questioning, who is the I that speaks in your thoughts when anger flares? Ask, who is angry when fear rises? Ask, who is afraid when pride swells? Ask, who is proud? If you go deep enough, if you strip away the layers, you will find nothing you can call I, only thoughts, only sensations, only fleeting perceptions. The self is a process, not a possession, a river, not a rock. The ego hates this truth. It thrives on solidity, on certainty. It wants to be something fixed. But life is not fixed. It is flow, and only when you flow with it, without clinging, without resisting, do you find peace. This is not philosophy. It is medicine for the disease of separation, for the sickness of self-centeredness. A man once asked the Buddha, "What is the cause of the world's misery?" The Buddha answered, "It is this clinging to I, me and mine." Think of that. I, me and mine. These three are the seeds of all sorrow. But how do we live in the world without them? The answer is not to renounce all responsibility, but to shift our relationship to identity. To act, not from the ego, but from awareness. To speak not from pride, but from truth. To serve not from desire for praise, but from compassion. When the ego fades, joy arises. Not the joy of excitement which comes and goes, but the joy of being, the joy of enoughness, the joy of peace. You do not need to become someone. You need only to be what you already are. When the illusion of self drops away, and what you are is spacious, open, radiant. Now let us turn inward. Let us explore how thought builds the house of ego, and how awareness can disassemble it. For the mind, left unchecked, will become your master. But when seen clearly, it becomes your servant. So let us examine thought. Thought is not the enemy, it is a tool. But like fire, if left untamed, it can burn down the house of peace. Most people believe every thought they think, but a thought is just a sound in the mind, a movement, a cloud. It is not truth, it is not self, it is not permanent. When you meditate, what do you notice? That thoughts come and go. You do not summon them. You do not control them. They arise. They pass. So how can you be what is constantly changing? If you were your thoughts, you would vanish every time a new thought came. But you remain, watching. This is the key. Awareness is the sky. Thoughts are the clouds. The ego is the storm that pretends it owns the sky. But storms pass. The sky remains. When you identify with thought, you are pulled into suffering. When you identify with awareness, you rest in freedom. So observe your mind, not with judgment, but with gentle curiosity. Notice how quickly it defends, how it compares, how it narrates, and then let it go. You are not here to accumulate mental noise. You are here to awaken. The ego cannot survive in presence. It needs past and future. It feeds on regret and anxiety. But in this breath, in this moment, there is no story. There is only now, and now is free. The Buddha said, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. But what if you became nothing? Not in the sense of absence, but in the sense of vastness, of openness, of egoless being. To become nothing is to become everything, because when there is no self, all beings become yourself. This is the birth of compassion. This is the death of ego. This is liberation. And so the invitation is simple. Die before you die. Let go of the false self and discover the timeless essence that cannot die. Let the ego crumble. Let the illusions fall. For in the ruins of the self, you will find peace. To walk the path of the awakened one is not to fight the ego with force, but to dissolve it through understanding. The ego is not some monster hiding in the shadows. It is a misunderstood child, grasping for security, trying to define itself in a world of change. It believes that control leads to safety. It clings because it fears the unknown. But the truth is, only in surrender does peace emerge. Understand this. The ego is not inherently evil. It is simply unaware. Like a hand reaching in the dark, it grabs for identity in an ever-shifting world. It builds towers of thought, believes them to be fortresses of truth, and then suffers when they inevitably collapse. It says, "This is who I am," and the universe whispers back, "That too shall pass." In the Dhammapada, the Buddha reminds us, all conditioned things are impermanent. When one sees this with wisdom, one turns away from suffering. The ego is the great conditioned thing. It is not born from wisdom, it is born from reaction. To live from ego is to live from fear. Fear of being unseen, fear of being unworthy, fear of being unloved. But awareness knows no fear. Awareness is the space in which fear arises and dissolves. It watches, it understands. It does not need to prove anything. So how do we shift from ego to awareness? We begin with belief. Belief is the compass of the soul, and yet, most of us inherit our beliefs like second-hand clothing, worn by generations before us, stitched together by society, religion, culture. These beliefs are rarely examined, yet they shape our every thought, every choice. The Buddha was revolutionary not because he offered new beliefs, but because he urged us to question all beliefs. He said, do not believe in something because it has been passed down. Do not believe in anything merely because it is spoken or rumored, but after observation and analysis, when you find that it agrees with reason and is conducive to the good and benefit of one and all, then accept it and live up to it. Belief is not to be clung to, it is to be tested. The ego clings to belief for identity. The awakened one uses belief as a stepping stone to wisdom. Ask yourself, what do I believe about myself? That I am not enough, that I must be perfect to be loved, that I am better than others, that I must prove my worth. These are not truths. These are echoes of conditioning, shadows cast by ego. When you believe you are unworthy, you seek validation. When you believe you are better, you seek superiority. Both are traps. Both are prisons. The Buddha taught the middle way, not indulgence, not denial, not inflated pride, not self-hatred. The middle way is the balance point between extremes. It is the dance of humility and dignity. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is seeing yourself clearly. It is knowing that your true nature does not need praise or dignity is not arrogance. It is the quiet strength that comes from inner peace. True belief, right belief, is not an identity. It is a compass that points to freedom. And freedom is not found in comparison. The ego thrives on comparison. It asks, am I better? Am I worse? Am I ahead? Am I behind? But awareness asks, am I present? When you are present, there is no need to compare. You see others, not as threats or competitors, but as reflections of the same truth. Their joy is your joy, their suffering is your suffering. This is why compassion is not a moral obligation. It is the natural fruit of awakening. The Dalai Lama said, our prime purpose in this life is to help others, and if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. Compassion arises not from effort, but from seeing clearly. When the illusion of separation fades, love arises naturally. Not romantic love, not possessive love, but boundless loving kindness. The kind that sees all beings as sacred. The kind that recognizes the same struggle behind every face. And so, belief becomes a mirror. What you believe about others reflects what you believe about yourself. Do you believe others must earn love? Then you likely believe the same about you. Do you judge others quickly? Then you likely live under the same judgment. Do you seek to understand others? Then you likely are beginning to understand yourself. Right belief is not rigid. It is fluid, alive, tested through presence. And when belief aligns with truth, clarity dawns. Clarity is not just mental understanding. It is seeing with the eyes of the heart. It is the moment when confusion falls away, and what remains is simple and real. The ego lives in confusion. It thrives on drama, complexity, overthinking. But clarity is the end of inner noise. It is silence with eyes wide open. To cultivate clarity, we must unlearn. Unlearn the stories you've been told. Unlearn the urgency of the mind. Unlearn the belief that you must be someone special to be at peace. You are already enough, not because you've earned it, but because existence itself is sacred. Clarity comes not from gaining, but from letting go. Let go of the need to be seen a certain way. Let go of the pressure to have all the answers. Let go of the need to fix everything. In letting go, you return, and what you return to is simplicity, and simplicity is the door to wisdom. Wisdom is not knowledge. Knowledge fills the mind, wisdom empties it. The wise are not those who speak the most, but those who listen deeply, not those who prove their point, but those who embody peace. The Buddha sat in silence under the Bodhi tree, not to escape the world, but to understand it, to see through it, to awaken within it. And from that silence came a voice that echoes through time, not shouting, not demanding, but gently inviting, come, sit, be still, see clearly. And in that seeing, everything changes, not the world, but how you meet it. When you see clearly, life becomes a meditation. Each breath, a prayer. Each step, a return. And the ego, once feared as an enemy, is simply seen as a pattern, one you need not obey. You begin to act, not from reaction, but from intention, not from habit, but from awareness. This is where vision is born. Vision is not about future fantasy, it is about present truth. It is the ability to see what matters, and to live from that seeing. Vision is the fire that burns through distraction. It is the compass that points you back to purpose. And purpose is not a grand mission written in the sky. It is the quiet alignment of your being with love, presence and service. You find your purpose not by looking outward, but by listening inward. What makes your heart come alive? What brings stillness to your mind? What feels like truth in your bones? Live from that place. Let it guide your choices. Let it shape your days. And let the ego dissolve in the fire of authenticity. You were not born to impress. You were born to embody. To be the presence that transforms rooms without a word. To be the light that exposes the shadows, not with judgment but with grace. To be the hand that lifts others, not because it's your role but because it's your nature. This is what the ego cannot understand, but the soul remembers. So remember who you are beneath the noise. Remember the stillness beneath the thought. Remember the vastness beneath the mask, and let your life be a mirror of that remembrance. Discipline is the vessel through which your awakening becomes embodied in the world. It is not punishment, nor is it rigid self-denial. True discipline is love in motion. It is devotion to truth. It is the courage to return again and again to the path, even when the mind pulls you toward distraction. The ego resists discipline because it fears surrender. It thrives on impulse, seeks comfort, craves approval. But discipline is not about denying yourself joy. It is about cultivating the kind of joy that cannot be taken from you. The Buddha said, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame." This stability, this rootedness, it is born from discipline. When you wake each day and return to your breath, when you sit even when the mind protests, when you speak truth even when your voice trembles, that is discipline. It is the daily decision to choose presence over habit, to live deliberately, not reactively. Discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency. It is the gentle hand that leads you back when you've wandered. It is the voice that says, begin again, and again, and again. This is why the path is called practice, not performance, not achievement. Practice. For even the Buddha did not arrive at enlightenment without effort. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree with unwavering resolve. When Mara, the embodiment of ego, fear and temptation, came to him, the Buddha did not fight. He simply said, "I see you," and returned to his breath. This is the heart of discipline, to meet the ego with presence, not resistance. To see your distractions, your urges, your stories, and return again and again. It is through discipline that action becomes sacred. Not hurried, not reactive, but aligned. Right action in the Eightfold Path is not just moral behavior, it is conscious behavior. It is the willingness to act from awareness, not from ego. You ask, how should I act in the world? Act with integrity. Act with compassion. Act with the awareness that every word, every choice, is a ripple in the vast ocean of being. When your actions are aligned with truth, they carry the weight of presence. They uplift. They heal. They leave no residue of regret. The ego acts for gain. The awakened one acts from love. Love asks nothing in return. It gives because giving is its nature. The Buddha taught that every action creates karma, not as punishment, but as reflection. Your actions shape your consciousness. They either deepen illusion or dissolve it. So choose with care. Do not act from fear. Do not act to be seen. Do not act to control. Act to serve. Act to free. And let your doing be infused with being. This is the difference between activity and purpose. Activity exhausts. Purpose renews. When you act from ego, even success feels empty. When you act from presence, even the smallest task becomes sacred. You sweep the floor not to be done with it, but because sweeping becomes a prayer. You speak to a stranger, not to impress them, but because in them you see yourself. You rise each morning not to chase status, but to align with truth. This is action without ego. This is the art of living. And when you live this way, gratitude becomes your natural state, not forced gratitude. Not reciting a list of blessings, but the deep visceral knowing that life itself is a miracle. You do not need to achieve something to be grateful. You only need to see clearly. See the breath entering your lungs. See the sunrise painting the sky. See the kindness in a stranger's eyes. See the stillness that holds it all. Gratitude is not the result of having more. It is the result of needing less. The ego is never grateful. It always wants more. It always points to what is missing. But the heart, awakened, sees that nothing is missing. Gratitude is not something you practice occasionally. It is something you become. When the ego dies, the heart overflows. You walk through the world in awe. You smile without reason. You say thank you to the trees, the silence, the pain, the laughter, because all of it is part of the path, even the suffering, especially the suffering, for it is suffering that cracks the shell of ego. It is suffering that humbles us, that softens us, that brings us to our knees in surrender. The Buddha did not run from suffering. He looked into its heart and asked, "What are you teaching me?" And suffering replied, "Let go. Let go of resistance. Let go of entitlement. Let go of the belief that life owes you something." Then, and only then, does suffering become teacher instead of tormentor. To live with gratitude is to trust that even the hardest moments are part of your unfolding, that even pain has purpose, that every step, even the stumbling ones, lead you home. So give thanks, not just for the blessings, but for the storms, for they show you what you still cling to, and they invite you to release. This is why adaptability is a sign of awakening. The ego resists change. It demands control. It panics when plans fall apart. But life does not obey your plans. It flows according to its own mysterious rhythm. And when you resist that rhythm, you suffer. But when you align with it, when you surrender to the flow, you find peace. The river does not cling to its banks. The wind does not mourn its direction. So why should you? To adapt is not to lose yourself. It is to discover how vast you truly are. The oak tree stands firm, but the bamboo bends, and it is the bamboo that survives the storm. Your strength is not in your rigidity. It is in your capacity to respond with grace. When things fall apart, breathe. When expectations shatter, breathe. When life surprises you, breathe. And say, this too is part of the path. This flexibility is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the knowing that nothing is permanent, that everything is teaching you something, And when you meet change with curiosity instead of fear, you become invincible. Because now, nothing can take your peace. Not success, not failure, not praise, not blame. You have died to ego, and in doing so you have awakened to truth. And the truth is, you are not here to control life. You are here to dance with it, to move with its mystery, to open with its unfolding, to grow with its impermanence. And as you do, resilience arises, not the brittle resilience of pride, but the quiet strength of surrender. You may fall, but you rise. You may weep, but you walk. You may break, but you mend, because the spirit within you is not fragile. It is infinite, and it remembers. It remembers who you are, beyond fear, beyond ego, beyond name and form. It remembers the silence before thought, the light before story, the stillness before identity. It remembers the truth you've always known, and that truth will carry you through every storm. To embody this resilience fully, we must become students of life, not just in moments of stillness, but in the chaos too. The ego seeks certainty. It wants to understand everything before it begins. But true learning requires openness. It requires humility. The Buddha once said, "Just as the ocean has one taste, the taste of salt, so too does my teaching have one taste, the taste of liberation." Learning in the Buddhist path is not accumulation, it is release. We do not learn to know more. We learn to become free. To learn is to be transformed. The ego wants knowledge to impress, to dominate, to feel superior. But wisdom bows its head. Wisdom listens. Wisdom receives. And this is the paradox of awakening. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you truly know. The deeper your insight, the more silence you value. Learning is not merely reading sacred texts or hearing wise words. It is watching the rise and fall of your own breath. It is seeing the anger in your chest and not feeding it. It is noticing how the mind clings, how it defends, how it spins stories. Each moment is a teacher. The driver who cuts you off, he is your teacher in patience. The friend who betrays you, she is your teacher in forgiveness. The illness that lingers, your teacher in impermanence. The joy that surprises you, your teacher in presence. Life is always teaching. The question is, are you listening? When you approach life as a student, ego has no room to dominate. You no longer need to be right. You no longer need to prove your worth. You are here to learn, to grow, to evolve. And in this humility, you become truly powerful. Because a heart that is open to learning cannot be defeated. It bends, but it does not break. It hurts, but it does not close. The ego sees challenges as threats, but wisdom sees them as invitations. Invitations to deepen, to soften, to awaken. So let your life be a living question. Not how do I win, but what is this moment asking of me? Not how can I be seen, but how can I serve? This shift in inquiry dissolves the ego's grip. Because the ego is built upon the question, what do I get? But the soul asks, what do I give? And in giving, you receive. Not external rewards, but inner peace. The kind of fulfillment that no one can take away. This is how the path unfolds, through continual surrender. Not once, not twice, but over and over. Like waves returning to shore, each day, the invitation is the same. Let go. Let go of needing to be understood. Let go of needing to control. Let go of needing to know what's next. And simply be here, now, fully. This is the art of presence. Presence is not something you force. It is something you remember. It is your natural state when ego falls silent, when the mind stops racing, when the stories dissolve, when the heart opens. Presence is the doorway to peace. Because in presence, there is no past to regret, no future to fear, only this breath, this sound, this moment. And in this moment, you are free. Do not wait for the perfect moment to practice presence. Use whatever is here. The aching in your back, that is your anchor. The chaos in the room, that is your teacher. The silence in your chest, that is your home. Bring your attention fully to what is, not what should be, not what was, but what is. And watch how peace arises. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. Because you are no longer resisting reality. You are embracing it. This is the death of ego. When you no longer demand that life meet your expectations, but instead you meet life with openness. And from that openness, love is born. Not romantic love, not idealized love, but the fierce, unconditional love that sees all beings as sacred. This is the love of the Buddha. This is metta, loving kindness, a love that does not depend on agreement, a love that does not arise from attraction, a love that does not waver when conditions change. It is the love that sees suffering and says, "May you be free." It is the love that includes even those who hurt you, even those who do not understand you, because love is not a transaction. It is your nature. When ego dies, this love floods through you, not as an emotion but as a state of being. It guides your thoughts. It softens your speech. It shapes your actions. And suddenly, life is not about getting somewhere. It is about giving yourself fully to where you are. This is the revolution. This is the freedom to move through the world with love, not fear, with openness, not armor, with presence, not projection. And when you live this way, joy arises, spontaneously, not because everything is perfect, but because you no longer demand that it be. You find joy in small things, the way the sunlight hits your hand, the sound of wind through trees, the shared laughter of strangers, the quiet understanding in your own breath. This is not the joy of escape. It is the joy of embodiment, and it is yours here and now. But to remain in this joy, you must be vigilant, not with tension, but with care, because the ego will return. It always does. It will whisper, "You need more." It will say, "They don't see you." It will ask, "What if you fail?" And you, with the awareness of the Buddha, will smile and say, "I see you." Then you'll return to the breath, to the body, to the moment, again and again. This is the practice. This is the path, not to banish ego forever, but to stop believing its lies, to stop building your life upon its illusions, to wake up each day with the intention, "Today I choose presence over pride. I choose compassion over control. I choose truth over image. I choose love over fear." And with that intention, you become a light, not because you are trying to shine, but because you are no longer hiding. You become the stillness in the storm, the calm in the chaos, the mirror that reflects peace to all who look upon you, not by effort, but by being who you are, beneath the noise. You do not need to become enlightened. You only need to stop pretending you are not. Because what you seek is already here, in your breath, in your body, in your awareness. So let go. Let the old self fall away. Let the masks dissolve. Let the stories end. And step into the radiance of your true being. Not someday. Now. Now let us speak of the final turning of death, of ego's final trick, and of the liberation that awaits when the illusion of self is not merely seen but fully released. Death is the mirror into which the ego dares not look. It trembles before impermanence, for its entire identity rests upon the idea of continuity. I must last. I must leave a legacy. I must be remembered. The ego is terrified of disappearance because its existence is bound by time, by story, by form. But you are not. The awareness that witnesses thought, that watches the body, that observes emotion that has never been born and therefore can never die. It does not belong to you. It is not yours. It is you. And it is beyond all fear. The Buddha taught that freedom is not found after death. It is found in dying before you die. This is the heart of the path. Not transcendence through escape, but awakening through surrender. When you surrender the self, when you drop the illusion of separateness, when you no longer cling to name, to image, to role, what remains is vast, luminous and free. This is what it means to kill the ego, not through violence, not through suppression, but through deep, radiant clarity. You do not need to become someone holy. You need to stop pretending to be what you are not. Drop the mask, the one that says you must have it all together, the one that says you are too broken, the one that says you are superior, the one that says you are not enough. All of them are lies. All of them are chains. And behind them waits the real you. Not better, not worse, not more, not less. Just here, fully, quietly, unapologetically. You are the stillness that sees, the silence that hears, the presence that is. And when you live from that place, you do not fear death, because you have already died to illusion. You do not fear loss, because you have stopped clinging. You do not fear judgment, because you have stopped performing. You simply live, fully. This is the highest teaching, the deepest liberation, and it is available now, not after 10 lifetimes, not after perfecting yourself. Now, in this breath, you do not need to be more to be free. You need to be less defended, less identified, less afraid. And when the ego falls away, what remains is love. Not love as emotion, not love as romance, but love as truth. The love that sees all things as one, that holds joy and sorrow in the same embrace, that walks through fire and still sings. That is your nature. You were never separate. You were never broken. You were never alone. The ego created the wound, but awareness is the balm. Presence is the healing. Compassion is the path. So walk it, not with haste, not with pressure, but with devotion. Each moment, a step. Each breath, a prayer. Each encounter, an opportunity to see God in the eyes of the one before you. And when the ego whispers, "But what about me?" you will smile, you will bow, and you will return to the silence, again and again, until even the whisper dissolves, until only presence remains. And in that presence, life unfolds with grace. You no longer chase, you no longer defend, you no longer pretend. You simply are. And that being becomes your greatest gift. To live as truth, to move as stillness, to speak as love, to walk as freedom. This is the Buddha's promise. Not a heaven in the clouds, but peace here on earth. Not someday, but now. The ego will ruin your life if you let it. It will steal your joy. It will poison your love. It will blind you to the miracle of now. So let it go. Kill it, not with hatred, but with truth. Not with fear, but with awareness. Let it die, so that you may live, so that you may truly see, so that you may truly love, so that you may truly be. Let this be the vow you carry forward. I will no longer serve illusion. I will no longer feed fear. I will no longer believe I am separate. I will return to presence, again and again, until only presence remains. And then, without effort, without force, without even seeking, you will know peace. You will look at a tree and weep for its beauty. You will feel the pain of another and bow in compassion. You will rise each day not to become someone, but to remember who you are. This is awakening. This is freedom. This is life without ego. And it is yours, now, always, forever. May you walk the path with courage. May you meet each moment with love. May you remember, even in the darkness, the light that you are. And when the noise returns as it will, may you sit, may you breathe, may you smile, and return to silence. There is nothing more to do, only this: be still, be here, be free.